Both my parents did not want me to get into this business. My father's challenge to my mother saying that this guy is going to run away in 4 months is now almost 17 years.
What is sustainability according to you?
Sustainability is planet focus. It is just like the air we breathe, the water we drink, and anything that we use. Unfortunately, since the Industrial Revolution, 120 years of our progress has happened at the cost of it.
Recently, I saw an article where even sperms have started getting microplastic.
What were the tough times that you went through?
A lot of entrepreneurship is not MBA. Perseverance, passion, patience. You have to wait for the result to happen. It's annoying and irritating. All our assets was staked. We had to get loan from a bank who had already over-leveraged us. All along our life, we tell the banks we are the collateral. Giving up is not an option. I started something, I have to get it done.
What is your advice for young entrepreneurs who think this is the way to do business other than bootstrapping?
Doing business without an MBA is like doing 3 MBAs.
How did you treat your employees, sir? What made them source loans from their personal sources and give it to you?
If as an owner, they see me build my wealth, that affinity will not be there. Even today, we keep putting the profit back into the business. So if someone comes and sees my factory, they will have a wow feeling. They come and see my house, they will think, what the hell, this guy is having this big a factory and living in this kind of a house.
Destiny recognized your hard work, maybe?
Maybe. I'm sure the billionaires of the future, until 2050, it is going to be from India.
How did your Ecoline reach Prime Ministers?
Let's get to that story.
How does a product manufactured from a tier 3 city in Tamil Nadu end up getting owned by Prime Minister Modi in the Indian Parliament? What is the impact of sustainability and recycling? How to build a brand and bootstrap a business? What is the importance of hard work and risk-taking for an entrepreneur? Today's episode is going to be a story of innovation, struggle, resilience and success. Welcome to our channel and another episode of The Master's Edge. This is Vignesh, partner and co-founder of 2 different companies, CNV Engineering and Vesta Industrial Solutions. Our first company, CNV Engineering, is into the sourcing and supply chain of engineering components, and our second company, Vesta Industrial Solutions, is into the B2B sales and marketing consulting. Both the companies are based out of Coimbatore City, India. If you are interested and would like to know more about what we do, I'll leave the links to our website below. Over the past decade, we have had the pleasure of interacting with diverse range of professionals across various domains. This podcast is our way of sharing this knowledge with the world. Today's guest is Mr.Senthil Sankar, the managing partner of Shree Renga Polymers Karur, which manufactures Ecoline brand of clothing. The specialty of this brand is that the entire fabric used for the manufacture of their products is made from recycling plastic bottles through their own proprietary technology. They have been featured in almost all news and media channels in the country for this reason and are probably one of the very few companies in the world who go full cycle from collection of waste to conversion into clothes. In this episode, me and my business partner Cibi sat down with the guest to understand his journey, the importance of innovation and sustainability, what led him to this idea, and a lot more topics. We hope that you really get as much value as we got during our interaction with our guest. Before we start, please consider subscribing as it motivates us to bring more guests from diverse backgrounds. This episode is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast and YouTube Music, the links of which I'll leave in the description. Please switch to 1.5x speed for better viewing experience. Let's get started.
Hi sir, thank you for accepting our invite and gracing us with your presence. We have a tradition in our podcast, although we introduce about the guest to the audience, it would be nice if you introduce yourself to the audience as to who Mr. Senthil Sankar is, what is your journey, and what do you do exactly right now?
Thank you very much for inviting me for your podcast. Senthil Sankar is an ecopreneur, industrialist, a startup mentor, and an investor. This is what I am in 4 words. The business I do is convert PET bottle trash into this garment and similar garments and sell it in the name of my brand, which is called Ecoline clothing. Now all over India, very soon all over the world. So that's the business we do. We're also into business to business category, wherein we sell fibers made out of PET bottles. They call recycled polyester staple fibers and polyester yarns. This is also something that we do. We've been in this business for the last 15 to 16 years, mostly as a manufacturing house and now as a brand. Apart from this, I think the greatest social service anybody can do is to encourage entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs create jobs and they take the risk of their life to generate employment for people and create value for a lot of stakeholders in the society. So I felt more than charity, the best way is to give back to entrepreneurs. So, and I don't charge anything for my mentorship. I make it free because that's a social service. The only constraint is time. So when an entrepreneur approaches me, I try to give the best ideas and suggestions that I can give. So that's why I proudly call myself a startup mentor. And if I like the idea and I want to invest in it, I also invest. So this is what I am in a nutshell.
How has been your journey, sir? Where did you start? I mean, I wouldn't call you technically a second generation businessman, but from my research, at least for whatever I was going through your background, your dad started way back in the 90s, and another interesting thing that came up was your parents are IITians. Can you touch upon their journey also and how it intertwined with your journey?
Sure. Born and brought up in Chennai.
Okay.
My father's town is called Madurandagam, which is about 80 kilometers away from Chennai. Both my parents are IITians, so I'm a product of two IITians. Hence, I didn't go to IIT. So my father had a very humble beginning from a village. So he didn't have much of access to education. So he had to depend on his relatives to get himself educated. His parents, his father was a farmer. But my grandfather was also a person who wanted to be an entrepreneur but could not become.
Because of circumstances.
Because of circumstances and things like that. And back then, nobody in a village encouraged people who take risks. It was always a very contented and a comfort life. So my father wanted education to be one of his core forte. And he came out of the village and then went into PUC, did BSc, then MSc in Anna University. That's when he knew there is something called IIT, because that was the kind of disconnect at that time. So he applied for IIT.
I think this was in the 70s, 80s.
It was in the early 80s. Late 70s, early 80s when he got through IIT. He got into the polymer technology department for the masters. So he did MTech in IIT Delhi. So my mother, Chennai person, and her father was also very clear that his children have to be in IIT. Both my mother and my uncle, my mother's brother, both of them are IITians. So my mother did masters in mathematics in IIT Madras, and my uncle did BTech in electronics from IIT Madras. So family of IITians, so you know how it is. It's always very scholarly, highly professional, and very thought-driven kind of a family. That's how I grew in that. But I always tried to differentiate myself. I didn't want to tread the same path that my parents did.
You wanted to do something.
Something different.
Yeah.
So I got into sports when I was in school. Up until then, I was not really keen on what I'm going to do next. I always had sports as a fascination. So I played cricket, in fact, professional cricket. I played a lot of sports like athletics, soccer, you name it, and I was playing that. Even during my 12th board exams, I was playing sport. One of the fascinations for people like me at that time was Formula 1.
Mm-hmm.
So Formula 1 is, I used to follow a person called Mika Häkkinen, who's in a team called McLaren Mercedes. And I used to hate Michael Schumacher for some reason, and he's from Ferrari. So that fandom made me get interested in cars. And that is when, after I finished my 12th, grade 12, I was very clear I didn't want a management seat. So I told my parents, wherever I get a seat for whatever mark I have, I'll go there. Luckily for me, I got VIT, which is again one of the best universities in India. And it had a very good mechanical engineering department. So I told my parents that I don't want to get into electronics or any of these new age engineering streams. And I said I wanted to get into something traditional because mechanical is something that offset of that is automotives.
Yeah. Mechanical is the base.
Is the base. So I told my dad and mom that I wanted to get into this, and I got into mechanical. So until 12th, I was just, interested in sports, not really keen on studies. I did well in my studies, but then not like the 95, 96 percentiler that is often very famously talked about.
Yeah.
So, but that was sort of on the other side when I got into college, because I did something that I really liked. And I knew at the end of the day I wanted to be a race car engineer. So I learned everything about mechanical engineering. And the beauty of automobile is that everything you learn in the 4 years you apply in a car.
Correct.
That's the beauty of it. So that drove me. And since I was interested, I was passionate towards it, I studied better. Mm-hmm. I passed out with first class distinction. And to top it all, I had an experience which very few people have. I was selected to represent India at the World Automotive Congress. Mm-hmm. That's similar to Oscars for films. That is for automotives. So I went to Yokohama in Japan, where I had the opportunity to present a paper on windshields, which was an amazing experience because you have 30 other people who are from different countries, each one from a different country. So that was a very enriching experience. And I came back. So my parents were thinking that this guy is going to be a techie. He wants to be in cars and he's probably going to circuit around the Formula 1 racetracks around the globe. That was what their thought process was. But then things changed. as it often does when you're young. And that is when I got into, I saw a movie which sort of changed my life. And that movie is Mani Ratnam's Guru. And I saw this movie when I was in VIT only with one of my friend. And it was, there are some things in life that does something to you which you can't explain.
It has a deep impact on you.
Yeah, it goes very deep into you. It goes into your subconscious. It sort of drills something within you. So that is a movie that I went to watch as a, pastime, basically to watch Aishwarya Rai. But then I realized that, this was something bigger than, what I imagined this to be. It was not just a movie for me. So it had an impact, and I repeatedly kept watching, and I never get bored of it. Even today, if I watch, I don't get bored. Probably many people have some instances or experiences like that.
It's a part of
where they keep going back to it and they never get sick of it. So for me, it was like that. And I think that's what made me start getting interested in entrepreneurship. My father's first business was in nylon recycling. This happened in Chennai. For 10 years, he had a very deep struggle. So entrepreneur's life is not easy because the percentage of success is extremely less, not only in India, but across the globe. So the risks that he took, my mother actually, was the one, because she's well qualified. She was able to bring money into the family for running the family. So my family was run on my mother's earnings, and my father was finding it difficult to, get his act going. But then he called it quits in 2001, 2002. He went to Dubai. He got into various jobs. And that is when, he was also wanting to get back to the contented life. Though the entrepreneurship spirit was in him, he got back into contented
He
life.
got a bit tired after the first stint.
It happens, right?
It happens.
When you go through a lot.
Life beats a lot. And
It beats you a lot.
And you have lifetime debt, which you have to take care of.
Yeah.
And if the interest rate is in 8-9%, it's okay. If it goes up to 40%, then it's
Yeah, those
crazy.
days, that was very famous. Yeah.
Very famous. So that got into a big toll. So I knew all this. I'm the elder person in amongst the two children. I'm the elder one. So I've seen all this struggle. But then something in me kept telling me that, I should become an entrepreneur sometime. And that's when I opened it up to my parents, and they naturally, no parent wants their son to take a risk. If it's a generational business, we have a huge bank locker to depend on and all that. And if you're well-to-do, then you can do it. But for us, it was not like, we are not like really struggling in life, because my parents are educationally well qualified. They were in very good jobs. So we had a very decent living, I would say middle class. But then for us to aspire to become an entrepreneur, take a risk on ourselves, was something that we didn't think of at that time. That's when my father came to Karur. And he got a job basically in Karur by one of the leading home textile exporters at that time. The project was to do the same thing what we are doing today. It was to manufacture polyester staple fiber.
That company was planning to do that.
So he came down as a COO to execute that project for them.
Okay.
Unfortunately, 6 months down the line, that didn't work.
Okay.
So they could not fund the project. So he was jobless again. This was in 2007. And that's when he was trying to figure out, how do I get into this, and what do I do with my life, and so on and so forth. At that time, I got out of graduation and joined TCS. So I got into corporate. At the time, I wanted to get into corporate because I wanted to have some work experience before I, take my entrepreneurship journey. I also wanted to do an MBA, like, write CAT on GMAT and all that.
Right.
Do an MBA and then equip myself before I take a risk on my life. So at that time, my father's decision to stay back in Karur and then start Shree Renga Polymers is where everything started. Basically, his idea was, it was unfinished business. He came to Karur for something and it didn't happen. So he just wanted to start that recycling part and then take care of the family debt and all that and just let it go. Both my parents did not want me to get into this business. They were very clear. In fact, they challenged each other saying that this guy is going to run off in 4 months, because I was in city.
Yeah.
I was city bred, city brought up. I was in a white collar job in TCS. To come and, sort of deal with trash and make value out of it is something that they thought will not resonate with me. So that's when I challenged them, not verbally, but by way of action. I told them that I'm going to quit my job. I was asked to go abroad by TCS. They had
On-site?
Not on-site. It was a business development role.
Okay.
Something like on-site, but it's more customer interfacing rather than doing software. Rather than doing software development. That job is actually very good. The pay was excellent, and the promise of growth was also excellent. But I didn't see myself go up the ladder. So my discussion with my boss during my exit interview was, he asked me, why do you want to leave when you're performing really well? I was in the top and I got the highest increment also. because I got a project that I really liked.
Okay.
It was not the traditional C#, Java thing.
Okay.
Nor was it mainframes, which is legacy. That, moment I asked him, can I be the CEO of this company? And if I have to be the CEO of this company, what should I do? He didn't give me a convincing answer. He said, I myself don't know if I'm going to be, how can I advise you? So I said, this is not my company. I don't want to be this. I want to be an entrepreneur. I think that's my calling, and let me figure out how to go about it. So I had a discussion with my parents. I said that since there is a start here and we are doing well, in the first 3 years of Shree Renga Polymers, we did very well.
Okay.
And we had some exports also going. So
What were you doing in the first?
So we were recycling PET bottles and making them into hot wash flakes,
Okay.
which is the recycling process.
Right.
Dirty bottles becoming a clear plastic material so that it can be made into fibers.
Okay.
So that was the process that my father started in Karur. So we had a factory in Puliur, and then we were expanding that same capacity. We were making it higher in Manavasi.
Right.
So deep down, it's actually a recycling job, highly dirty collar job.
Yeah.
That's why my parents were not really keen on me taking it up. But I thought this is the best way I can learn business.
Right.
More than doing an MBA. See, doing business without an MBA is like doing 3 MBAs.
True.
Especially when you travel in business for 3 years, you can do 3 MBAs. And this is what I was, to attest myself how much I have in terms of knowledge. I went to IIM Ahmedabad, where I got into a young entrepreneurs program. I understood most of the things that they teach there is there in business.
You've already
for 3
seen.
years
Yeah,
itself.
you've already seen.
So you don't really need an MBA
True.
if you have to be an entrepreneur. That grind of 1,000 days is more than enough.
Yeah. It
So-
will shape you.
So I wanted that 1,000 days experience, and I wanted to get into it. My father's challenge to my mother saying that this guy is going to run away in 4 months is now almost 17 years.
Yeah.
I didn't back out of it because I loved Karur. It is not a contented place. This entire Kongu region has that enterprise spirit.
That thread is woven into the spirit of
Yes,
Western
yes.
Tamil Nadu.
Yes,
Be it Tirupur, Erode, all the
Erode,
places,
Coimbatore, everywhere. They want to, have that spirit of enterprise, like you said, is very high. Same as in Karur, very hardworking people. So when you surround yourself with people like that, you will never think of having a contented job.
Correct.
So that was a motivating point for me with respect to Karur as a place. Plus, I thought that I should, start a company that is globally acclaimed from a tier 3 place, which is more difficult. I can start a company from Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai. That's a little easier than it is in a tier 3 place. But I was thinking it would be motivating if I start a business from Karur, empower the people of Karur, create an ecosystem here, deliver the value, and then make it globally acclaimed. That was what I felt was more
That was more motivating for you.
motivating. And that's why I decided to stay.
I just wanted to say it is also kind of giving back to the
Yes.
place where you felt more belonging.
Yes. The giving back happened in the last 2 years when I took up the role of CII. I'll explain that a little later. So I joined the business and we started doing the recycling part. So from 2008 till about 2011-12, that was just expanding. And we were
So
supplying.
by this time, your entire family has shifted to
no,
Karur.
it was just me and my dad.
Oh, okay.
So every weekend we used to go to Chennai because my mother was working in Chennai.
Right. Mom was still working.
She was still working.
Okay.
She was working until my elder son's birth.
Okay.
So then I got married, and my wife hails from Udumalpet, that's near Coimbatore.
Yeah. Okay.
So then she joined the family, and then we started having more opportunities in front of us in terms of dope dyed manufacturing. So this is like the early part of how we started. Yeah.
So before we move on to the next part, sir, we'll talk about your business also. I would like to ask you, what is sustainability according to you?
Sustainability is planet focus, and it is just like the air we breathe, the water we drink, and anything that we use. Back then, if you look at the old literature books or books on history, human beings always had a symbiotic relationship with nature. Unfortunately, since the Industrial Revolution, 120 years of our progress has happened at the cost of it. And now we're realizing the benefits of the disadvantages of being so reckless in terms of growing without keeping the planet in mind. This is only the last 120 years. You know how old the earth is and how old Homo sapiens are.
Correct.
Homo sapiens knew that symbiotic relationship with the nature is the best way to grow. And they grew from apes to humans, and from humans to kingdoms to so many things. But then since we found crude oil, since we found fossil fuels, we realized that we should always look for a shortcut to grow. Be it energy, be it transportation, be it whatever. Every invention happened with using energy from, resources that, in fact, crude oil and fossil fuels are dead remains of dinosaurs and all these things that millions of years ago. I think now is a time for us to change that. We've realized it. Even the Wayanad floods is a cause of climate change. So when you're not having a symbiotic relationship with the nature hits you back hard. And it is hitting back hard. COVID is also a reason of climate change. So there are many factors. Sustainability to me is in everything that we do, right from our daily activities to the work that we do. If we think, is this going to harm the planet? Our choices will be much different. If you have to go for a meeting to Mumbai or to Delhi, but instead have a Zoom meeting which is possible today, you are thinking of the planet. If you buy Ecoline, you're thinking of the planet. So on and so forth, right? If you buy an electric car, you are thinking of the planet, but please also think about how you're going to recycle those lithium-ion batteries. So I think our thought process has to change. And the era of sustainability has started. The billionaires of the future are going to be from this domain, for sure. If Elon Musk is sitting on top, it's because of Tesla.
True.
And it's because of so many other social companies that he's doing. I wouldn't call SpaceX a very sustainable enterprise, but then one part of it is sustainable. The fact that the rocket goes up and comes down. Reusable rockets just ensures the energy demand for making rockets comes down drastically. So that part is definitely sustainable. So I think, to me, sustainability should be there in every person's mind. For us in Ecoline, we are trying to make that as a consumer choice. So when you go to a store, when you want to buy a garment, you don't just look at price and quality. You also look at how much is the impact on the planet. That's very important. I have an experience of taking Blue Smart in Delhi NCR, which is a ride-hailing app that is purely electric. I get very excited to use that because, it tells you how much of CO2 you saved every day, which you rarely, find.
In other
So as a consumer, because I know sustainability, I get excited. But my aspiration is everyone should, just like how we adopted masks and sanitizers after COVID, I don't want a catastrophe for us to change that way. But then more people like me, if they come into this domain, educating people about sustainability, the consumer's mind has to change. Ecoline is an effort as a brand to change the perception of the consumer to embrace sustainability. Our domain is fashion. Everyone can choose their own. And I think that's the only way we're going to prevent 1.5 degrees increase in Earth's temperature. And we have a very short time.
Correct.
If it goes above 1.5 to 2, we are going to have a lot of catastrophes happening across the globe, which is not...
Nature will hit back.
Will hit back very, very hard.
Sir, you were talking about innovation and R&D. Consider it as an investment, not an expense. What put you this thought in your mind? What are the experiences that shaped you to think this way?
Where did the idea of Ecoline come from? Can you explain?
It's in line with what I asked.
Yeah,
It's in line with
two different questions, but I'll answer one after the other. Innovation and R&D is a core of our success. Because we recycle PET bottle flakes, we realized that we could make fibers. Everybody was making fiber, but we make dope dyed fibers, which means we color the fiber in the making without using a single drop of water with the lowest energy. People are not thinking that way. That was our innovation, which even today is making a stand in the market despite having so much of competition. That's one. Second thing is, what do we do with waste of waste? Our raw material is waste, but then a process has got another waste. So we should make sure that even that goes into some kind of use.
Like the dust.
Yeah, so the caps cannot be made into polyester. So that goes into making battery cases. We sell them out to those people who do it. The wrappers are taken by cement factories. That's a mandate. If not wrappers, some other plastic, but that's a mandate for them, so they take it from us. The dirt that came along with, we had a problem state. We're wondering how to, take care of it. So we have an effluent treatment plant which recycles the water 100% and puts the water back into the system. But the mud had to be treated with. So in Tirupur, where the dyeing cluster is pretty famous, they have to dispose it as a hazardous waste. For me, it is not a hazardous waste because it's after all dirt. So we thought, why don't we make it into walkways?
So you treat that dust again? And
no, what we do is we just mix that with our fly ash from the boiler. Our boiler is not fed by coal. Our boiler is fed by firewood. It is sustainable. Why? Because one, it is giving livelihood to people in Ramnad district. Two, that tree actually attracts moisture from the atmosphere and lives. It's called Seema Karvelam. It is not good for the environment.
Yes.
So it is good as a firewood. So we burn that. That fly ash and our mud is mixed with cement aggregates and we make pavement blocks. The news came out and then, people in Coimbatore got in touch with us. They're talking about the foundry waste.
Correct.
The foundry casting waste.
Huge foundry cluster here.
Huge amount of waste which has got minute metal particles in the sand. So they said they are going to work with us, and now we're doing the research in PSG Tech where we are mixing these two and trying to see what is the best way we can make this. So the innovation is how do we keep improvising what we are doing. We are a jugaad company. By jugaad, what I mean is nothing is a scrap for us. When we see something as scrap, we try to create value out of it. You will be finding it hard to believe. When we invested in polyester fiber manufacturing in 2014, the machine that we bought was a scrap. It was a scrap. Now we're making fibers out of it, which is worth several crores. It's a German machine, but it was a scrap. But we knew how to make it into a machine, into a running machine. So we got it here, we assembled it, we did all the changes that were required. And we got it done. So, when you have an innovative mindset, everything will look at it as an opportunity for you.
You will find a way.
When you don't have an innovative mindset, you will be blocked. This is one thing. I think is essential for growth. And investment in that is definitely not an expense. It is an investment. Learning is an investment. Every day you learn 1%, 2% more than what you know. You become more empowered.
It compounds.
Yeah, it compounds. And the opportunities that knowledge can create is something that's paramount, which you can't really metricize and say that this is how it is.
It's asymmetric, right?
It's asymmetric. Yeah. Which is why I also feel that education is not so important. I stopped with BTech. I didn't do masters or anything of that sort because I thought if I'm a lifetime learner, every day I learn something, I am much more than all of this.
True.
Right? So that's the whole point. So innovation is key to keep yourself ahead of your competition also. Maximum you can earn 4 to 5 years with the edge that you have. You have a product market fit. You have a product that does well. Customers are paying you for the price you fix. That will be for 5 years. Then reality strikes in terms of competition. Today in an open world, 5 years is too much of a time. 3 years, everyone is going to come in.
True.
So how do you keep yourself with that edge? That edge can only come with innovation. That one thing extra that you do is what it is. Now, coming to Ecoline, there are 50 manufacturers in India who recycle PET bottles and make polyester fiber. Now, this polyester fiber becoming yarn goes into another ecosystem which is called spinning. From yarn, we get into fabric. That is another ecosystem. It could be knitting or it could be weaving. Then garments, that's a totally different ecosystem.
Correct.
So, when we studied, we understood that there is no one doing end-to-end from bottle to garment. So, what we did is in 2017-18, we invested in our garment factory where we learned how to make garments and understood the value chain. That understanding of the value chain made sure that, we can actually make a useful product from PET bottles and also, sell it. So our initial confidence came in 2018-19 when we started making garments and we understood actually it's good. There is no problem because once it becomes polyester, it's like any other polyester. You can use
it point, up till it becomes polyester, you do all the R&D, you do all the processing and
that is where our innovation, that's our skill. Okay. How do we make trash into polyester is our skill. Once it becomes polyester, it's like any other product. When we were studying this value chain, we understood there is no one from bottle to garment. And that is when we decided that, okay, we should start making our own garments. But we never thought we should white label it. Because we have done the hard work.
Then it becomes a commodity.
I don't want to sell it to the H&Ms and the Zaras of the world or even, even the Indian brands. I don't want to do it because we have done everything ourselves. The only thing is branding that requires creativity.
Yeah.
When we started Ecoline, starting a brand is not tough. Scaling it is tough.
Correct. True.
Today. That's the challenge.
Right.
So I took up that challenge. I said, okay, let's do it. And when we started, we are the first brand in India, and I'm very proud of saying this, which is fully sustainable. Fully sustainable from the roots, fully traceable, with exact CO2 composition as to how much we've saved. We're the only brand in India. In fact, I think we're the only brand in the world doing this. It's unverified claim, but I'll be very happy if someone watches this and, challenges me saying that you're not one where there is someone else.
Anyway, it is good for the...
It's good for the planet.
Anyway, it's good for the planet. But the point is that traditionally people buy sustainable fabrics from China and make the garments. So it's not end-to-end done by one particular manufacturer in one place.
It's a supply chain.
It's a supply chain. So in India, if you see, there's a lot of crisscrossing of the supply chain. Cotton grows in one state, spinning happens in another state,
Correct.
Fabric and processing happens in another place, garmenting happens in another place. You see the crisscrossing? This is not the case in China. There's an ecosystem.
Correct.
In our model, everything is in Karur. Now, there is a huge industry called dyeing and processing, where you have to color your fibers, you have to color your fabrics.
A lot of water also.
A lot of water is used in that. This is where our hallmark technology called dope dyeing comes. Dope dyeing does not use a single drop of water. And the coloring and the fabrics that we are manufacturing, the properties, everything is imparted in the matrix. Simple property is antimicrobial. which is giving you the fresh feel.
This you incorporate in the dye itself, or
We incorporate in the matrix of the fiber when the fiber comes out.
okay, so it's ingrained in the
It's
molecules
ingrained.
itself.
It's ingrained. It is not surfacial.
Right.
What we do
Like
in
the
Tirupur,
traditional.
in Tirupur and all the clusters in Surat and Ludhiana, it's all surfacial. So that's why they say 20 washes it will go, 40 washes it will go. For us, it's lifetime. Nothing happens. And what is very important is
This is tested and
tested and proved.
Okay.
All our products are like that.
Right.
Because we have that, we can replicate this anywhere in the world.
Okay.
This is where innovation comes. Since we thought of this particular additional process, we don't need to depend on a Tirupur as a cluster where dyeing and processing happens in a mass scale.
Right.
I can be in Mauritius, I can be in Maldives, and I can still do it.
As long as you have that dye process set,
Yes, sir.
it is.
That's our USP. It's like how Coca-Cola sells its concentrate.
True.
See, Coca-Cola, the business model is like this. Everywhere they have beverage manufacturers who make all of Coca-Cola's products, right? They do the investment, everything, but the recipe is not theirs.
Correct.
Coca-Cola sells the recipe and takes royalty. We want to be that for this.
Okay.
So we want to work with partners abroad who are interested in sustainable fashion, who are passionate about it. We want to support them, establish this infrastructure, have an equity sharing anywhere in the world, because we have this end-to-end technology in our hand. We want to replicate the same in different parts of the world, work with them and solve the problem of single-use plastic menace. Even today, 30% of the plastic is all that gets recycled. 70% goes to ocean and landfill and incinerated.
So what you mean to say is there is still huge amount of space for
Just recycling is a massive opportunity.
comment. Yeah.
And single-use plastic becomes a product that takes a long time for it to, go to the trash can. We have a solution for that also. But single-use plastic problem is solved. So this is the approach we're taking. And we are looking for global partners. And in fact, I'm very happy to say 15 people have responded in this 10 days time since I posted on LinkedIn
Okay.
for partnership in various countries. That's encouraging.
So it's like by partnership you mean you set up you technology transfer and they
Yeah, so they have to basically take care of the local sourcing, working with the government, and
all the
running the
local
show.
regulations,
Running
running
the
the
show.
show.
So my game is India. I've decided that 140 crore people, massive opportunity,
Yeah.
growing country. My game is India. For abroad, I mean, it depends on how big the opportunity is, but I want to work on a collaborative partnership model where we can scale this up faster rather than me doing everything.
Everything.
Today is not the era of owning everything yourself. It's smarter to actually work in collaboration and then scale that up. So if I have fabrics from different parts of the world, that is phenomenal value for Ecoline as a brand. That can make Ecoline a global brand. That's the $1 billion opportunity.
What were the challenges you faced, sir? What were the tough times that you went through? Because from what I hear, from whatever you're saying, all the R&D, all the innovation requires a cost. You must have taken a lot of risks. What was your mindset? How did you approach your tough times? Because it will be very motivating for whoever is watching.
Okay.
So,
See, nobody, it's not a bed of...
yes.
It is a bed of roses, but it also has thorns. So that's how we have to tread the journey. For me, I would say 2014-15 was a very, very challenging time because, even though logic tells you this is what you have to do, you still need to
So
have the money.
Ecoline was started in 20?
This is 2020. We started Ecoline.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is
That
when we set up the
before.
fiber plant.
Okay.
That was much beyond our capability because that requires, even though it was a scrap that we bought, you still need to make it work and you have to invest several crores.
Correct.
All our assets was staked. My parents' hard-earned assets, which they worked and they got all of it for the last 25, 30 years. Everything was put on the line. And we still ran out of money. We needed more money. And that was a very trying time where, the thought process was, why am I doing this and all that? It'll keep coming. But since I'm out of that and I'm looking back at it, I think the best thing we did was we just keep moving. We didn't stop and we never give up. Giving up is not an option. I started something, I have to get it done. That's where the perseverance comes. Like a lot of entrepreneurship is not MBA. Perseverance, passion, patience. Also the fact that you're in pursuit of something. You have a purpose, which I spoke about in the morning. All of these things cannot be taught to you. It has to come ingrained. And it has to come through the experience of people who are surrounding you. Getting inspired by someone who's actually telling you that and living that. So I think 15, 16, that financial struggle I can never forget in my life. Never ever. And also the way we bought the machines. I told you it was scrap. It was in Chennai. That went into, a certain sort of a difficult environment. That's all I can say. It was MLA was owning that particular place. He bought over those assets.
Okay.
So the people he deployed do not understand technology. And how do we negotiate with someone who doesn't understand that? So that was a very unique experience for me. How to talk to someone who doesn't understand anything about it, still get the machine safe. Every day there used to be fire in the compound, ruckus. A lot of crazy things were happening every day. Getting those machines itself was an experience. And I remember it like yesterday. Because those tough times remain for a lifetime. You can have a balance sheet that is showing several crores. That is not the one that teaches you.
True.
These tough times is what actually teaches you. I will never forget that.
That is what shapes you, right?
That is what shapes you in a certain way. And I will never forget that particular experience. But it was my father's inspiration at that time. When both of us were sitting midnight, I still remember, we had to get this particular loan from a bank who had already over-leveraged us. So they had already leveraged and over-leveraged. And we had to go back to them and then, convince them that, believe in us, because banks ask for collateral.
Correct. True.
So all along our life, we tell the banks we are the collateral. So apart from us, we don't have anything. We have come from a working class. So working class, what they'll have a certain set of assets. That's all they own. Take everything. You can take everything because we believe in what we are doing. We want to take this risk. So banks took that. In fact, we even pledged our insurance policies. To that extent, we went.
Okay.
Because we believed in what we were doing.
You have seen the extreme.
We've seen the extreme. Everything. All types of loan, all types of risk, everything we saw. Yeah. Because at that time, you're desperate to get your act going, right?
Correct.
And polyester manufacturing is a continuous plant. You can't stop.
If you stop, it is more costlier than actually.
So you have to keep pumping in money. You'll see waste getting generated. Plant takes some time to set. So it was very, very difficult for us. But that day when my father gave me this inspiration, when we were almost going to say we'll sell the company and we'll just come out of it because it was getting too much for us. At that time, he said, let's give it one last chance and, move ahead with it. So the next day we went to the same bank manager telling him that we are doing well, though we are struggling. He also believed us and said, no, okay, let's give you this line of credit. And that's what actually got us out of all this. In fact, our employees also gave loan. They sourced loan from people that they knew and they supported the company to come out of that crisis. Very rarely such things happen. Those people are still with me. 17 years we started, they're still with me. So it is, I think, combination of many positive things that happen. So it's like one of my favorite Rajinikanth dialogues, right? I mean, the good men always struggle, but God never lets him go. The bad men get everything, but God lets him go.
But it also boils down to perseverance, no?
Yes, it does. It does. And very often than not, that's what makes you win. When you don't give up, you always see the light at the end of the tunnel.
How did you treat your employees, sir? What made them source loans from their personal sources and give it to you?
The approach was that we treat them like assets. We don't treat them as cost. In a P&L, salary is a cost. If you look at it as a cost, it is not going to add value. When you look at them as your assets, the output is completely different. Again, it's intangible. You can't really say, I did X, so I'll get Y. You can't do that. But you have to keep doing what is right and what is good for the employee. Our success story is that a person who's joined as a clerk becomes a general manager kind of a role. Someone very senior, a person who's an operator becomes a production manager. So when they go through this journey of growth, not only in terms of salary, but also in terms of position, recognition, they have a talent, but we give them the opportunity. They very often will give back to the company. So this thing that human beings always have reciprocity as one of their core values is reciprocity. Somebody does some favor to you, we always feel that we should give it back to them. The same thing exists, I think. With our employees, we take good care of them and they take care of the company. I think the fact that they were very, very involved with the company, they didn't want that to, all that hard work to go away. So they also wanted to do whatever they could. I think it's the approach of thinking of employees as assets that has made us.
I think they were aligned with the vision of the company as well.
Yes.
Which made them feel very personal when they get connected to the idea of not letting this down.
That's how we communicate the vision to them. We should be transparent. If as an owner, they see me build my assets, build my wealth, that affinity will not be there. But we keep putting the profit back into even today, we keep putting the profit back into the business. So if someone comes and sees my factory, they will have a wow feeling. They come and see my house, they will think, what the hell, this guy is having this big a factory and living in this kind of a house. The idea is that I never wanted something for myself. Luckily, I have a wife that supports. But, the point is that when you see potential in the business and you think that will grow, you should always plow back the profits into making it bigger and bigger. And when employees see that happening, when they know that the owner is interested in making this bigger, they see a bigger opportunity for themselves as well. So that is what it is. I think you should invest in your employees rather than all of them don't come perfect.
Correct.
You will employ them for marketing. They will be only 70%. And they will also, if they come with experience, they'll have all the bad habits and the good habits of other organizations, which they will come and put in our organization. That will spoil the culture. So I would rather take a fresher, train him, make him better, and keep investing in him so that they don't go away. So we recently had our annual day. We give gold coins to our long-serving employees. We give about, they say Mukkal Savaran in Tamil, that's about 3/4 of a Savaran, 6 grams for 15 years plus. 4 grams for 10 years plus and 2 grams for 5 years plus. I'm very happy to say that almost close to 45% of our workforce, which is now close to 500, is above 5 years. And I think it's the act of all of this that has probably made it happen. This is work for us. I hope it does for everyone else.
Nowadays, there is a challenge of labor also, no, sir? Predominantly in MSME manufacturing sector, especially capital heavy segments like textile, garment manufacturing. How do you tackle the future? What does the future look like? Are you going the route of automations, reliant more on automations, or touch upon that? No?
So automation is good, but I don't think robots have replaced human beings.
True.
Because let's take a classic example of sewing, which is stitching. And no robot in the world is able to replace that. You still need humans to do it. I think it's the way we approach that's very important. An inspiration for me is KP Ramasamy, KPR Groups. He's got so many people.
True.
But the way he approached the model in which he took care and all that, even today, nobody wants to leave that. The garment industry
That
has
is
the highest...
they don't consider it as a factory.
Yeah.
They consider it as a home away from home. He has given that...
and a university.
Yeah, and a university. Yeah.
That's the point I'm trying to make. So when you have people who come on board and you give them some purpose, give them learning from A to B, except salary, they grow in every other aspect. They very often stick to you and they very often do good to you. That's what has happened to KPR.
True.
He's 6,000 crores today. He started, his boom happened in apparel, and that's because he developed this approach.
Correct.
Which many other places are not able to do. I think India is struggling with unemployment today. Though we are growing highest in the world, we still can't cater to the job requirement of millions of people who are coming into the workforce. This is also a disadvantage of having the demographic dividend, having a younger population.
28.
Yeah, younger population, but then still we are not able to give them the jobs. That's where MSMEs come in play. And which is why I think governments focus on improving MSMEs, ease of doing business, convenience and all these things will actually solve the jobs.
I think it is progressing, I believe.
I think it is progressing. I think the approach is certainly there. The government has realized that this has to be done. But if you ask me whether automation is something that can replace workforce, I would only say it's an enabler. Artificial intelligence enables us today. You still need to be smart in terms of how to use it.
How to leverage that.
If you're going to just do cut, copy, paste, everyone will know that the not only that comes in between is because of ChatGPT and not because of them. So it's about how we get enabled with certain devices that we have. Cell phone enables us to communicate, to learn things better. It is not, it's not anything else. You can still misuse it, but the choice is yours.
How did your Ecoline reach Prime Ministers?
Fantastic.
Let's get to that story.
So we have a huge corporate sector. What they do with us for Ecoline is we give them garments with their names and, because they have ESG norms, right?
So this is your B2B business side.
Not B2B. It's again, if you look at it, it's actually B2C only.
B2B2C.
B2B2C, but then the buyer is the person who's using it also.
Okay.
It's not like he's reselling it to someone else. So his employees are using it. So it's actually B2C, but more customized. So it'll be bulk orders and so on. Indian Oil is one of our customers. Even till date, I'm very grateful to them because they are the ones who gave this idea. So that is the period when we were making this jacket.
Okay.
So we were working with Indian Oil on various other products and they wanted this jacket. They said, we'll do it. 2023, just before that, before February 2023, when it was handed over to him, Hardeep Singh Puri was the Honorable Oil Minister even today. I don't know if he's today, but he was the Oil Minister at that time. And he was given this jacket and he loved it. He said, it's really nice. So he said, why don't we try and give this to the Prime Minister, who is coming for the India Energy Week inauguration that was happening in Bangalore, early February of 2023. So 6 months prior to that, we had to start all the sampling, sending the fabrics and all. So all of that was going on. We gave him 9 fabrics, and he has a team, one in Ahmedabad and one in Delhi.
So this is PMO.
PMOs. So who does all the scrutiny and all that? Everything happened through Indian Oil only. So we were told that the product is going to go, and he's going to choose some color, which is of his choice. See, nobody knows what the Honorable Prime Minister wants to do or what he wears. Everything about him is only known to him. Even his close to him will not know, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So he was the chairman of Indian Oil Corporation, was wanting to somehow get this to him, and we'll see what he does with it. Okay, he may accept, he may not accept.
This sort of a product. This sort of a...
we don't really know, but at least this is something he's wearing on a daily basis. So maybe there's a chance that he can wear it. Nobody thought he'll wear it. So we were witness to that that amazing event. For me and my father, it was lifetime moment, because
It was a highlight of your entire journey.
Product of your creation.
Yeah, it was like getting
famous.
I can even say it was like getting Bharat Ratna, because you get that feeling that, see, money is not everything. Turnover and profit are just telling you where you are, but that's not going to give you ultimate satisfaction. But these kind of things only give you ultimate satisfaction. So I saw my father was highly emotional in tears when he saw the jacket handed over by the chairman of Indian Oil Corporation. So to answer your question, it was Indian Oil which was the conduit. They were the company who did it, and it was very magnanimous of them that when the light fell on us immediately after he wore it in the parliament, he accepted that. Nobody thought he'll wear it. I'll come back to the magnanimity of Indian Oil. I'll explain what happened in that period. So after it was handed over to him, we came back satisfied, extremely satisfied. Nobody knew that it was done by us. But as we were talking, there were media agencies around us who picked up that we made it, and how these people are. They immediately catch on to it. So they caught on to that, and they said, okay, tell us how you made it, how it's made up from. So we explained the process and all that. Someone took a video of us and they put it. It was in Hindi. Chest Hindi. I speak broken Hindi, so whatever Hindi I could speak, I told him. Then we came out. I think it was 2 days. We were sitting with our team, our top team. We were explaining what an amazing incident it was, because we were sharing the happiness with our people.
Definitely.
That is when my friend called me. And he told me, boss, he has actually worn it in the parliament. Now it's become a rage. Okay, very soon you're going to get calls. I said, no, why will I get a call? Because it was Indian Oil who gave it to them. It was made by us, that's fine. But it was Indian Oil who gave it to them. So obviously it's not going to come to us or anything of that sort. I think within about 2-3 hours, I got calls from his office, his party, and all these people started calling me.
PMO. From
Not PMO in the sense BJP, everyone. Because they wanted to verify, because they know that Indian Oil doesn't make garments. They are into refining business.
Yeah.
So who did it? Because Prime Minister has a habit of giving credit to the person who has done it, especially if he's, let's say, for us from Karur, right? So he always does things like that. He gives credit to whoever it is. He will ensure that
where it's due.
He will ensure that the person gets credit. That is what Mr. Annamalai, who's the state president of BJP, told me. That is his habit. And also people who know him also said that. So I got calls repeatedly, and I was wanting to check with IOCL. This is where their magnanimity came. IOCL could have very easily, shunned us away. They could have just said, throw it away. But for media, the story was from Karur to the Prime Minister's office. Okay. It is not a story if it is Indian Oil to Prime Minister's office or Reliance to Prime Minister's office, right? That is not a story worth telling.
Correct.
So tier 3 town entrepreneurs giving something to the Prime Minister is what became a story. And so after their permission, after we understood that they were okay with it, that is when we opened up. And then again, entire media. Till now, I think I've given interviews to almost 275 channels in all forms. Electronic, print, YouTube, podcast, everything I've given. Everything centered around Prime Minister and then what we do and things like that. So this is the greatest event that can happen in anyone's life. And I would only say it's a miracle. These things cannot be planned. It is just destined.
I think it is a destiny recognized your hard work, maybe.
So I just have a
My
small,
team's hard work.
All of you.
a small follow-up question. You said there was a scrutiny happening at PMO's office.
Yeah.
So this is about microplastic. Now, recently I saw an article where even sperms have started getting microplastic. Microplastics have reached to that extent.
Yeah.
How do you tackle this issue?
Do you get criticism?
Oh yeah, quite a lot.
And what
It is not only microplastics. I'll explain how we tackled each of these criticisms. So I'll come to microplastic at the end because that's a bigger problem.
Okay.
Sir, before that, if you could explain how your process works.
Yeah, sure.
From there,
From there, I'll get to this part. So first, we collect bottles which are post-consumer only, not industrial waste. Post-consumer, that is used by people. Water bottles, oil bottles, liquor bottles, all these bottles get collected from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, Pondicherry. It comes to our factory in Karur. We recycle that to something called hot wash flakes. This is a recycled product. So once the hot wash flakes is made, it is ready to be made into polyester fiber. So from hot wash flakes to recycled polyester fiber is the process that we majorly do, where major capex is required. This is where our hallmark technology of dope dyeing comes, where we impart the color, the properties of the particular fiber in the making itself. After the fiber is made, it's made into yarn. There are two options in which you can make fibers. One is polyester staple fiber. The other is filament yarns. Filament yarns is also one way. Directly you can make the filament yarn without requiring to make spin it into spun yarns.
So with your technology, the yarns comes in the color itself.
In the color itself.
Okay.
So there are two products. One is fiber, the other one is filament yarns. Both we are manufacturing. So the way the end use matters, like whether it's going for weaving or knitting or industrial or automotive or so many applications are there for fiber. So once we make it into fibers, then yarns become fabric. It could be woven or knitted. After that, it goes into the garmenting process. Then is sold as a branded garments. Now I told you our raw material is a waste. We ensure the waste of waste is also, in a way, it is taken care of. So that makes us a zero waste company. And also, we assess the life cycle assessment of every product that we manufacture. That means, right from my personal travel, not only the raw material, the process, the energy we use, it's not just that. It's also my travel. Intricately, what the organization does in terms of carbon impact, there are 3 levels, level 1, level 2 and level 3, where every aspect of our business is assessed for CO2. What is our carbon footprint? So we know each of our end products, how much of carbon footprint is lesser than what it would be in a traditional way. So this is how we are sustainable. We don't just say we are sustainable, we even prove it to whoever wants to know. And there's a QR code, you can scan and understand the traceability and everything. The first criticism that we get: how does a hard plastic become something that you can wear? Is it not going to make it very hot or something like that? The technology here is, how do I make plastic bottles into super soft polyester fibers? Once I make it into polyester fiber, polyester is there in everyone's life, right? It's been there since last 80-90 years. So once it becomes polyester, it can be made into any textile. So that's the answer. For that, online it is difficult. We encourage them to pay. We send free samples. They wear it and they're amazed. They say, oh really? And nothing actually happens to them and they're happy with it. The other criticism I get is, cancer. Will it cause cancer? So that is something that is not backed enough by research. Okay. Cancer is increasing because screening is increasing. More people are aware of cancer. So many and so on. And also it's curable. If you detect it early, it is curable. But nobody actually can say cancer is because of plastic or cancer is because of any polymer or anything.
That is not only the reason.
That is not only the reason. It's also the lifestyle, right? I can ask this question. The food we eat is not organic in nature. Chemical fertilizers are used to make the food. If you test the food that we eat, it will have residues of chemicals in it. Do we stop eating that? No. Fast foods is not good for health. We still go and do it. We still go and have it. So our lifestyle has changed. And that is why the cancer rates are high. I can challenge anyone, not just through this medium, but through any medium, to come and tell me that it's because of plastic that cancer is increasing. So that's how I respond to that criticism. The third criticism is, what happens to the product after it's used? Yes, you make a single-use plastic into a end-use product that's got a longer shelf life. That's fine. But after I use it, I'm going to throw it. So that's going to harm the environment. This is where we have launched a campaign called EcoCycle. EcoCycle, on Independence Day, I launched the campaign where we tell our consumers, we are only the 6th brand in the world to do this. We say, you give back the garment after you use it. We will not buy it back. You give it back to us. I will pay the courier. I will take it back. But then you give it back to us. So that's the initiative that we have taken. So these are the things. So the last thing is what you asked me, which is microplastics. Microplastics is generated whenever there's friction between not just us, but anything with respect to plastic. It will automatically get generated. It is there in your toothbrush bristle, to the car tires, to your phone. If you keep rubbing it, that will also generate microplastic. Anything and everything generates microplastic. With clothing, it happens in the washing machine, where one solution could be using a guppy ball, which attracts that and you can safely dispose it. That is one solution. Quite frankly, I don't know if anyone's come up with a solution of microplastic. I certainly have not. But the approach we have taken towards sustainability is right. Because rather than burning crude oil to make polyester, I am making polyester from PET bottles that is getting discarded after
Instead of going into landfills,
I'm making it to this. So I've also assessed my carbon impact. I'm saying that production of the same polyester happens with a lesser carbon footprint, with better energy utilization. That's how I'm sustainable. That's my pitch. So my approach is positive, certainly towards that. And over a period of time, I think research and constant innovation will find a solution for microplastics. Whether it's there in the bloodstream or in the sperm, or all of that is something that Business Insider covered us in a documentary. The same Business Insider put this documentary about 2 months later. But I just think that for us to go back away from plastic, to reverse all our trends, we'll have to go back a long time.
Yeah.
And I certainly don't think that it's properly researched for us to know that this is what's causing that. But let's give time to research. Let's give time to the talented scientists. We will find a way. We will also support. If anybody is interested in this domain, is doing some research, I will fund.
One last question from my side, sir. What was your mother's expression when a PM wore your Ecoline? You said that your mom had actually supported your dad when he was not doing well in business.
Yes.
You and your dad getting emotional is because it is your own product.
Yeah.
But your mom and your wife, they have been passive supporters. I'll not say actively involved in business, but how did they feel? Did they talk to your neighbors about that?
Yeah. I mean, they are the most proudest of it all. See, when you're working, you don't think it's so big because you're in the daily grind. You don't allow this appreciation, all that to sink in, right? It doesn't really. Even today, if you ask me, I don't think of it. It's an occurrence. It's amazing. All that is fine. But I've gone past it. But it's only the women in the family who appreciate, who keep talking about it, who praise about it. So it was an extremely emotional moment for my mother, who supported. My wife as well. Being a qualified lawyer, she actually took the brunt of the family, of my 2 children. While we were struggling, she compromised her lifestyle also. Just like how my mother supported, she also did. We are very lucky. I am very lucky to have a mother and a wife who are very supportive, who understand, like I said, right? Very often when you are successful, you have this much of turnover. The women in the family would always want a bigger house, facilities and luxuries and all of that. So my wife has allowed me to pump back all the profits into the business and make the business bigger and keep our, ownership as see, we are not in a hut, but we are in a very humble kind of a thing, and we have grown that way, so we don't want to, go to that luxury and
minimalistic lifestyle.
Yeah, a minimalistic lifestyle. I think also it's having an impact on the children, right? The children should not think that they're too privileged. It affects their growth. So that's what it is. I think the women in the family, my grandmother, another person my maternal grandmother, who I'm very, very grateful to, she's 86 now. She is the one who actually grew me when my mother was in office, supporting the family. My father was in business. So a lot of women like that, who have supported. I can think of many. Even as a matter of fact, my sister, her support has also been amazing. All the women of our family were very proud of our achievements. Even today, they're very active. Both my mother and my wife are very active in the business. They have started to take very, very key roles, and they're helping in the progress.
Very heartwarming to see that you're upholding the traditions of Tamil Nadu also, as well as the family business unit. Because last couple of questions, okay? Today, youngsters, all this startup buzz, funding, everything has come across, right? I think it has been entrepreneurship is getting popularized, which is on one side a good thing. But I meet a lot of young entrepreneurs who think that business is all about raising funds. Your entire journey flies in the face of that, right? Although you had bank loans, all that, but it is predominantly bootstrapped, right?
It is bootstrapped.
It is bootstrapped. It is bootstrapped. You invest in startups also. You're part of Confederation of Indian Industry also. Touch upon the contributions you make in CII on one side. The other is, what is your advice for young entrepreneurs who think this is the way to do business other than bootstrapping?
Startups have to figure out.
Basically, your startup mentorship journey.
Yeah, sure.
You touch upon,
So what I tell startups is first figure out what is the problem you're actually solving. Very often, definition of the problem is something that they miss. That's where mentorship comes. You guide them as to make them understand, okay, you're solving this problem, but there is a bigger problem. Define this the way it is and then try to go about it. I think product market fit is the most important parameter. Unless you know you have paying customers, it is not a viable business. You could have a phenomenal product, but if it has no demand, there's no use. So you should have a product market fit. And as mentors, we try to tell them, how you can see. Entrepreneurs are also egoistic. They can't take advice, and they don't like people advising them and all that. So you'll have to, find a way. First, you have to win their confidence. They should know that they're talking to someone who's talking sense. So that's when their ears will open. So when you are in that comfort level, that is when you start telling them that make sure you have product market fit before you raise funds. When the investor comes into your cap table, when he looks at you raising funds from your own source, from your friends and family, risking that to get this working, you know very well that you are risking everything that you own to make this work. Then I trust you. Right? That's the
skin in the game.
Yeah. What's your skin in the game? So that is more important. Getting ownership of the company is not what we are looking for essentially. Yes, we want good exits. All that is there as investors. But we want that idea to win. We want that entrepreneur to win. When I evaluate startups, 70% is all about the entrepreneur. Because in the journey of business, I call it the valley of death. 1,000 days is called the valley of death, where you go through so many experiences. At the end of those 1,000 days, you'll realize, what is right, what is wrong. In fact, more often than not, you will find the product market fit happen in that 1,000 days, after the 1,000 days.
Correct.
In the first 1,000 days, everything will keep changing. But what will not change is the entrepreneur. You don't want someone to not have the passion, not persevere, not have the patience. Sometimes you need to just wait. You have to wait for the result to happen. It's annoying and irritating, but you'll have to wait.
The uncertainty.
Because like I said, right, it's throwing darts in the dark. You don't know where the board is. You just keep throwing it and you are hoping for bullseye, but you don't know whether you're going to get bullseye. So the point is that you should bet on the entrepreneur, understand the entrepreneur a lot more. There is a process called financial due diligence, legal due diligence before you invest. More than that, the entrepreneur due diligence is important. Traveling with the entrepreneur, understanding what he wants and all that is more important than these two things. So I would spend a lot of time in a person. My mentorship is free. I don't charge at all. And my only thing is time. So if I have the right time slot, I like something. I like startups in the space of sustainability because something that I do naturally. Yeah. So this is my approach. I think you should look at product market fit first before you go to your angel investors to raise funds. And you should bet your money on the idea that you're doing rather than use someone else's money. That is free money. You can burn it all that you want and then, but that's not the way you should grow. So this is my firm advice.
That trend has set in for the past 2-3 years, no?
Yes.
2021,
after the funding winter.
dried up. Yeah.
After the funding winter, what happened was now Series A's investors are asking for monetization.
Yeah.
You have a great idea, you built a platform, all that's fine, but then where is the monetization? How are we going to, make this work? What if the investor in Series A doesn't come? How are you going to survive yourself? Yeah. So all the startups I've invested heavily, I ensure that there is no burn game.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to tell me that you're going to grow and you're going to burn money, I have to be sure enough of how big that market is. And whether we are in a niche, whether the solution is niche.
Whether the rocket crosses the orbit.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Whether it's Chandrayaan 2 or 3, I need to be sure. So that's the whole thing, right? And this is with respect to startups. With CII, I got a phenomenal opportunity to give back to Karur. Karur has given me so much in the last 15-16 years. The people I have friendship with, the government, in fact, I'm very close to the district administration. Every leadership of the recent district administration, the collector.
I think before Karur, after Karur, we can split your...
Definitely. 100%. So Karur is very dear to me. I'm a Karurian now. I am not a Chennai guy. In fact, if people know that I'm moving out of Karur, they will become angry. They will say that, no, they will not let me go. So they've given me so much of love and affection. So I thought the best way to give it back to them is by leading an industry body, which I was lucky enough to lead. So I was vice chairman for 1 year and then chairman for the last year, chairman of CII Karur district. I was able to do 5 distinct things. One is I was able to bring about a totally new concept of branding Karur, which is to design a logo. We made an anthem for all the Karur industries. We designed a logo, got all the associations of Karur together to fix our Vision 2030 target.
This
So
is
we fixed-
specifically for Karur.
Specifically for Karur, all the manufacturing associations we got together.
You have your lorry, you have your
Many things,
everything.
textiles,
Everything, yeah.
and mosquito net and all.
Yeah.
We got all of them together, and we said that we'll commit ourselves to do 50,000 crores of business by 2030, which from now is about growing about 3.5 to 4 times what we are today.
3x.
Yeah, which is in 6 years. So this is something that I was able to get everyone on board to convince, and then we fixed that Vision 2030 logo, and we made the anthem. The target was fixed much previous to my leadership, but then we got it to some kind of traction. The second thing is Karur has actually around 1,500 to 1,600 IT employees. They all work from very boutique places like garages, home textile units which became IT. So it's not a very pleasing kind of an atmosphere which IT sector requires. So I was happy to work with the government to get the Neo Tidal Park sanctioned for Karur.
Okay.
This happened in the last assembly where the Honorable Industry Minister, Dr. T.R.B. Raja, announced it for Karur, and I led that last year. So it was very happy because now 5,000 people are going to get jobs in Karur in the IT sector, and today Tidal being a very key infrastructure coming in will also develop the town, bring up the service sector revenue, which will help us get to that 50,000 crores. The third project is about how we converted the moringa opportunity into an industrial park. Moringa is one of the largest growing crops in Karur, and the geography is such that it has very high nutritive value. So we did a remarkable fair. Prior to me becoming chairman, my chairman did that fair, and it was a huge success. With the support of our then minister, we were able to do it in a very
This
big
is for that moringa ecosystem.
Moringa crop. We can do. It's a miracle tree. You can do many things with it. It's not only food and sambar, right? It has medicinal value and so many things. So what I wanted to do was, how can we convert this as an opportunity for stakeholders like our members, so that they can move out of their traditional home textiles and do something else in food processing? How can we enable farmers? When you have a food processing ecosystem, the MSP is not required because the support price will be determined by the food processing sector. So the vagaries of variations in price of all agricultural commodities will not be there. We'll be able to consume. So that was the idea. So farmers benefit, members in terms of investment benefit, government benefits, tax revenues, and the entire sector becomes better. So that was the third project that we did, and we are going to now start the integrated moringa park, food park, which is going to be one of its kind from India. So the third project is the integrated moringa park, which is going to be one of its kind, one of India's best moringa-focused food processing park. After this, what we were able to do was to encourage women entrepreneurship. This was the support of all the women in Karur, because traditionally in the Kongu region, very well, women don't come out, they're very conservative and all that. So there is Indian Women Network in CIA, which is very famous. So we wanted to bring that chapter to Karur, and I had the opportunity to lead a core team to form the chapter. Now we're close to about 100 members there. So even Karur was something that I was able to do. And we didn't have an office for 15 years. We had an office in the first year, and then for 15 years...
CIA didn't have a
Karur office. So I was able to get that. These are some things that I could do in 1 year.
Please touch upon Ecoline also, sir. Where can people purchase the products?
So Ecoline is available online, ecolineclothing.com. You can go and purchase. If you're going to place corporate orders, you can leave us an email. The email is also mentioned in the website, and our head of marketing will get in touch with you for the corporate orders. So we are online. We are also available in Marketplace. Very soon we'll be on Myntra as well. Okay. So these are the places where...
What are the product ranges, sir, apart from the...
So we have ethnic wear, formal wear, like what you see. We have athleisure, and we have sportswear. These are the categories
as of now
that we predominantly have, yes.
Thank you so much for taking out so much time in your busy schedule and giving us this opportunity to interview you. Any final thoughts before we wind up, sir?
First of all, best wishes to your podcast. Good that you're featuring businessmen.
Thank you.
That could be a good story for many people. Inspire them to do other things.
Yeah.
I think India is the place to be. Not only the fact that I'm patriotic, I'm talking about it. It's also the macroeconomics are in place. We have some issues here and there. Unemployment is one problem. We have to grow at 8-9% from now till 2047 for us to be a Viksit Bharat. And we still have a problem of per capita income, which is about $2,300 today, as opposed to for a developed nation, it's about $15,000. So despite all of this, if you compare any other country, we are much, 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 much better. So being in India, doing business in India, working in India, all of this is going to be the thing for the next 20-25 years. And this is a lifetime opportunity. If you analyze our history,
A generational opportunity.
This is, if you analyze our history, you'll know very well. From the colonial period, after we got independence, so it took about 60 years for us to liberalize, 50 years for us to liberalize our economic policy. It happened in 1991. People were criticizing Manmohan Singh, but we are actually living the benefits of it.
Correct.
Of
Because of that
liberalization. And also all the features, the policies that have come. Actually, the policies that have been done in the last 15 years are so robust that it has made our economy very resilient. We're sitting on excellent forex reserves. Like I said, the macroeconomic fundamentals of India is excellent. That's why after COVID, we were able to recover so well, and our fiscal deficit is going to get to that 4% target that the Honorable Finance Minister has set herself for. So India is the place. My closing remarks is bet on India, trust in India, believe in India. I'm sure the billionaires of the future until 2050, it is going to be from India. And Indians will be the job providers of the world.
Fine, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank you for
coming on the show and spending so much time with us.
Thank you. It was lovely talking to both of you. I hope it was useful for your users.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.